Are you curious about bodies, pleasure, and possibilities? And what about curious about what others are up to on the planet when it comes to pleasure, sex, and play? Have you considered what pleasure can do for your life, your body, and your bank account? Do you know something magical, delightful, and out of this world orgasmic is not only possible for you, but totally available to you? If you're ready to be the magical, sexual, sexy beast you know you can be, and you just need the tools to get there, you're in the right place. Now, here's the host of The Pleasure Zone, sensual movement artist, relationship and sex alchemist, Milica Jelenic.
Welcome, 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 sweet pleasure seekers. You are listening to The Pleasure Zone here today. And we are going to be having an interesting conversation about hugging vibration, or also known as vibrational hugs. For those of you who are brand new to this show, you might notice that our conversations lead into a lot of things that have to do with bodies, sex, pleasure of embodiment, and all things that can contribute to that. So for me personally, I've been doing the show for almost 6 years now with over 260 episodes in podcast format. So if you really enjoy this show, or if you're curious about other topics that have been on, by all means, check out some of the other 260 episodes that have been podcasted. You can find them on many different platforms, anywhere from iHeartRadio, Spreaker, Spotify. You can find them in YouTube. There are over actually 50 places where you can find the podcasted form. And we also are live on over 50 different networks as well. On 50 different platforms, sorry. So for those of you who are listening on one of the other platforms, this is being produced on the Inspired Choices Network, where we have many hosts with over 5,000 shows in our archives that you can find as well on varying topics, anywhere from ghosts to butchers to people doing live readings online, and you name it, the finances. We got topics. We got a lot of phenomenal topics, a lot of phenomenal speakers, people who are world-renowned speakers on this network. So by all means, check them out, find out some interesting things, especially now at this time of, most people are at home. This is, for those of you listening right now, live, this is the time of COVID. Most people are at home doing social distancing. If you're listening in the future, you'll get to look back and go, oh, remember when it was COVID and all that stuff was going on? Thank God that's over. And so one of the topics that has come up for a lot of people is, how do we have pleasure of and enjoyment of other bodies when we are not really supposed to be touching other people? And for years and years and years, I have been experimenting with different ways of receiving a pleasure through non-touch, experimenting with energetic, different variations of sex and hugging and all kinds of intimacy through energetics. And years ago, in one of the first episodes, I had a guest. His name is Max Icon Riggs. He's a friend of mine from Seattle, and we actually talked about long-distance touching. So if you like this topic tonight about vibrational hugs, you might also like the topic that we did on the long-distance touching. Max did give some pretty good tips and tools on there as well. And this is my friend, Dr. David Lasocki. And we're actually going to be talking about today hugging vibrations, or vibrational hugs. What are they? And also, what can we do with them? How much pleasure can we receive from them? After all, this is the pleasure zone, and we can probably receive pleasure and a few other things. So hello, Dr. David. I'm going to just call you Dr. David this whole show so that you can fully acknowledge your doctorness. And Dr. David he's a writer, he's an editor, researcher, energy healer, creator of vibrational hugs. And he fails to mention in his bio that he does have a PhD. And if you would like to kind of add a little more, little bit of meat to that bio to let us know, what is it that had you go from what you studied in school to what has you interested in healing? What what created that transitional sort of interest for you, or was it always there?
Yeah, you like to start with the easy questions, I guess, huh?
I do.
That's a difficult question to answer. What was the transition? I think that the two developed in parallel, actually. So my interest in healing of all kinds goes back to childhood. I remember when I was about 6 years old in England, a long time ago, far away, and my mother suddenly took to her bed poorly, as they called it in England. So she was sick, and this had never happened before. She was healthy as a horse. And so I instinctively went to the bathroom and poured her a glass of water and gave it to her, and she recovered instantly. And it was some kind of miracle. Looking back on it, I think she was dehydrated because she drank nothing but tea all the time, and the caffeine gets to you eventually. So instinctively, I knew that she needed to hydrate herself. So this is the first miraculous healing experience I remember when I was 7, before I developed much interest in music, which came along a little later. And then I studied chemistry originally, then I switched into music and I studied music history and got a PhD in music history after many years. As you were saying to me earlier, yes, it takes many years to get a doctorate. And the healing came out of nowhere, really. My then wife, my first wife, was very sick with asthma, and she would tighten up all the time, and it seemed like we needed to rescue her, like she was going to die or whatever. So I started doing some massage for her, body work, which is your cup of tea. And in the process of that, she would tell me, oh, no, don't do it there. Do it over here. And, can you do it a bit harder over here? And so she was guiding me, like, what felt good for her from the point of view of healing. And in the process of this, I learned a lot about how bodies respond. And then also healing energy started to pour out of my hands spontaneously. That had never happened to me before. And so that got my attention, of course, and other people that I showed it to. And then I began my real healing journey, seeking to know what to do with this healing energy, how to develop it further, and how to help other people. That was about 25 years ago now. And since then, I've taken a lot of workshops in various kinds of energy healing or energy medicine. But over the last couple of years, I have been developing my own methods of healing, which have come to me spontaneously from the universe, shall we say. I don't know how else to explain them. And one of them, this vibrational hugs, which is the new greatest sensation that I'm working with now, actually happened to me when I was working with you. As you probably remember, about 18 months ago.
Yes.
You needed to, there was something that your being required, and I just said, oh, well, let's just give it to you. So I just pulled something out of the air and sent it to you, and then immediately you felt it. So this is the energy transmission. And I didn't have any name for it at first. I just called it energy transmission, which is a little generic. It's not very sexy, right? And then but several months down the line, when I was working with someone who was designing some images that I could infuse the energy transmission with, she said, oh, they feel like vibrational hugs. So there we go. Thus the name was born. It's like from her experience of this kind of energy.
Wonderful. I love all the different experiences and all the different people, all these different things that are all these ingredients that have actually contributed to the creation of vibrational hugs and that continue to create them. For those of you who are wondering, what is this vibrational hugs thing that they're talking about? David, can you give us a little explanation from your perspective what vibrational hugs? You were mentioning energetic transmissions, and can you give people like a sense of what that is, or a little explanation on that would be great.
Well, I definitely have the sense that I'm sending energy to people. And whether they're sitting with me in the room or they're like you, thousands of miles away or whatever, it's the same sensation from my point of view. I just send the intention for a particular vibrational hug to go. I've got about 270 of these vibrational hugs now that I've developed over the last 18 months approximately. And so I pick one and then I send it. Sometimes I need to know how long to send it for, if it's just whoop, out it goes, or if it's for 10 minutes or whatever. But the energy goes out, and the energy has a particular intention. The very first one that we created together about 18 months ago is called Receive. So what it is to be received is to be seen and heard for exactly who you are in this moment, without any judgment or expectation or comparison. And so this is a very infrequent experience for people. I've come to realize later that people have not been received very much because people are always judging them or having expectations or saying, oh, you don't do this as well as so-and-so, all right? So being received is a very important experience. And then a little later, I added to it receiving other people and especially receiving ourselves, because we also judge ourselves and compare ourselves constantly. So receive is the most basic one. It was the first one. And so when I think, oh, I'm going to send receive to somebody, just like here's receive, and then out it goes, just like that. And then people who are sensitive to energy, like you, like just now, so will receive this straight away, and you have a direct experience of it changing your own energy.
So for those of you who are listening and you're wondering, okay, David just said he sent out energy. If you're feeling like, well, what is he talking about? I didn't notice anything. And you're wondering, like, why did she feel something, but I didn't feel something? Please don't judge yourself on your receiving or on what is supposed to be felt or not felt. It's interesting. I actually put a post out on social media the other day that was kind of relative to this. It's interesting, but I love cuddle fests, and I just said, hey, who would like to be part of an energetic cuddle fest? And I received a private message from somebody who said, I don't understand this. I feel nothing. I'm like, cool, it's just a choice, and it's just an opinion about what you think it's supposed to feel like or not feel like. Maybe you did receive it, maybe you didn't receive it, and is it relevant? And it was very interesting. I know the person their target was to just engage with me anyway, to get attention from me. That happens frequently. And so I said, well, that's cool, whatever, it's your choice. And that kind of ended the conversation. So for those of you who are like looking to see what is it that I'm supposed to be feeling, there's actually no supposed to's. And when you get David's book, you'll realize that there are a lot of people who have experienced the different vibrational hugs in very different ways. Some may feel really calm, some may feel aggravated or agitated, and none of those are wrong. They're all just energies that are coming up that are showing you how you are, how your body is integrating these energies or working with them. So try not to have the expectation that because I got receive, I'm supposed to feel all like light and happy and like fairies are coming out of my vagina and going off and tickling the planet. No, not necessarily. It's not like that always. Not always, sometimes, but not always.
Your experience may vary. Yeah, Milica has a certain kind of experience. I can see, yes. Right.
Sometimes the fairies come flying out of your vagina. Not always. So sometimes bodies are in a place too where some of the vibrational hugs are like not so much, but some of the other ones are like oh yeah, that's great. And with 270 options and counting, like they're being created constantly as the energies are demanding them, right? It's a really cool thing if you could join David's group on Facebook, where he sends one out every day to the group and does a little write-up and gives you an image so that you can look at it to be able to receive the energy through the images that he's infused with these different vibrational hugs. So David, we'll have that link available too through the Inspired Choices Network. Also, it's available. Is that link available on your website as well for people to join through your...
I don't think so, but they can go to Facebook and just type in vibrational hugs, and a group will come up, and they can request to be invited into the group. And so that's the way to do it, right? And we have about 300 people on there at the moment, but we could always do it more. I'm happy to help lots of people. And so you get a free vibrational hug every day.
Beautiful, beautiful. All right, so we're going to be heading to our first commercial break. We're going to talk more about hugging vibrations / vibrational hugs, the book that David's written, and a bunch of other great things that he's offering in the world. So first, we're going to head to this commercial break. You're listening to The Pleasure Zone here on Inspired Choices Network, and we'll be right back after this commercial.
Are you secretly a voyeur, wondering what's going on in other people's sex lives? What if now is the time for a totally different sexual evolution? Are you interested in people who are pioneers of different sexual and pleasurable practices? Lean in now with Milica Jelenic, where she will entice you and your body to know your own pleasure zone. On the Pleasure Zone radio show with sensual movement artist Milica Jelenic, you'll receive tools, inspiration, and a foundation to allow yourself to receive more in your sex life, and quite possibly other areas of your life as well. Listen for the Pleasure Zone with Milica every Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 p.m. Central Time, 6 p.m. Mountain Time, and 5 p.m. Pacific Time on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com.
Are you a subject matter expert? Are you here to share your expertise with an audience waiting to hear from you in only the way you can deliver? Are you ready to have your voice amplified across the airwaves? Inspired Choices Network has a global radio platform streaming to millions of people across the world. Professionally produced and supported by an accomplished team every step of the way, you can broadcast from anywhere in the world, knowing your voice matters, and we ensure it is delivered with ease and efficiency. Eager to hear your message, the world awaits. Contact us today to become an Inspired Choices Network radio host. Email becomeahost@inspiredchoicesnetwork.com.
This is the Pleasure Zone with sensual movement artist Milica Jelenic. To participate in the program today from the U.S., call 815-880-TALK. That's 815-880-8255. From Canada, dial 613-800-8736. Or you can Skype us at InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. Or send your questions or comments via email to info@MilicaJelenic.com. Now, back to the program.
Welcome back, sweet pleasure seekers. You're listening to The Pleasure Zone here on Inspired Choices Network. And tonight we're talking about hugging vibrations / vibrational hugs. And we are exploring the different ways that we can receive energies from each other, especially at a time where it's very intriguing to be having this conversation right now, at a time where people are being asked to be doing something called social distancing. So essentially staying away from each other. So people are having kind of a lack of touch going on in the world. And I do a lot of body work where I touch people. And lately, I haven't had that. I haven't been working on bodies as much. I'm working on my daughter and my husband, and then occasionally my mother, but I haven't been working on clients. So my body that is so accustomed to working on bodies is having a very interesting time working with people without touching them. And I do work as well that is distance work. So that isn't unfamiliar to me. However, having my entire business go distant for now is very interesting. And it's a very interesting response in my body, because my body actually really loves touching bodies. So for somebody that is desiring to have that kind of sensation of things like hugs or touches or even anything like that, or different energies, I invite you to check out the vibrational hugs that David has. He has a book that you can get off of his website, davidlasocki.com, DavidLasocki.com. It's actually https://davidlasocki.com. Because I know sometimes when we don't put those HTTPSs in, they just don't show up right. So look for that. And in the store, I was going to say shop, but his site is American. In his store, you'll be able to download a PDF version of the book, but you can also get it on Amazon.com, where you'll be able to look at the images and the write-ups and receive the vibrational hugs through that. And you can also join that Facebook group as well. David, I know you have a few other things that you're offering as well. Can you share with the listeners some of the other offers that you have that you're working with people either individually or groups or anything like that, so they know what else you can offer them?
Yes, thank you. The most successful one has been what I call a remote group. And the people are remote, but the distance, from a distance point of view, but the point is that I can send energy transmissions to people by intention, and then they can feel them when I do. I mean, I don't have to be on the phone with them or on video or whatever, on email with them. So what I do, I have a group of people, and I send every morning, I tune into the energy of the group, the collective energy, and I pick 3 vibrational hugs, and I send them the transmission, and then I write them a little email message and tell them what I sent and for how long and why. And this has been extremely successful. This has been going 4 months now, and the people who've been on for 4 months are raving about how much effect they've received from it. They feel like their lives have been transformed. Yesterday, we had a group call, and one of the people whose husband came on only a couple of weeks ago, she said, my husband's life has been transformed in just 2 weeks from receiving these. And so I'm amazed, really. I'm very impressed. It's not like I'm impressed with myself. It's like, wow, these things really have enormous power to change people's lives. And they can change them in the way of releasing belief systems, stepping into a more powerful version of yourself, becoming healthier, becoming more connected with people and the world, and just celebrating the joy of being human, which is part of what you're about here anyway, right?
Very much so. So I know that you've had some pretty amazing testimonials, and I'd love to hear some of the responses because I know we've talked about them, and some of them are just like, wow, that's phenomenal. If you could share some of the testimonials that impressed you the most, like things like people's whole lives have changed. But I know there have been some too that have to do with health issues and different things that have been really, really remarkable. If you could share some of those, that would be great.
I think my main experience as an energy healer has been that there's no such thing as a purely physical symptom. So when people are experiencing a physical symptom, from a little cold or to intense physical pain, which happens sometimes, there's always something underneath. And what's underneath is often beliefs or conditioning from childhood that's still affecting people. They're still being held back by their previous experience, especially childhood experience. So when you can release that and they can step into something that's serving them better, they go through enormous shifts. Like physical pain can disappear in an instant when that happens. Right. I was working with somebody yesterday who was complaining about a lot of physical pain, and as we were talking, the pain disappeared completely. And so this is a common experience for me, that physical pain reflects something underneath that can be addressed by releases. And so the vibrational hugs are part of this for me. Whatever I use, it's just either I release the belief system by thinking about it, or I encourage the client to get into a more helpful belief system, or I just send them energy transmission, and it begins to change their energy so the physical pain, for example, is released.
That's wonderful. So for those of you listening who are thinking, yeah, sure. If you need some scientific kind of backing to this stuff, there's actually a lot of scientific backing that it's not necessarily directed at vibrational hugs, but the concept of intention creating change, and also our capacities to be able to send say, photonic energy, so beams of light, even from our bodies to other bodies. There is scientific evidence out there. There may be a show where I share like a million links for all of you. But if you do your research, you'll find that is out there, as well as there has been many studies done on the fact that a lot of physical ailments have different emotional things that are underlying them. And a lot of that research has been kind of brushed away as something that's regarded as sort of metaphysical hooey. However, there's some of the evidence that I've seen or researched in one of the things that I've been studying lately, something called the German New Medicine, speaks a lot to that we have these underlying conflicts that, when they are unresolved, create numerous issues in the body, diseases in the body. And this stuff called the German New Medicine, had over 50,000 case studies backing its validity. So to say, for those of you who are listening and you're thinking, oh yeah, whatever, a bunch of, new age yada yadas, not so much. There's actually way more information about biophysical healing out there if you look for it. Of course, with anything, you're going to find people who are trying to knock it and people who aren't trying to knock it. And you're going to find that with everything, just like you will with biochemical healing, which would be things like medications that people take. You're going to find there's a whole slew of people arguing for them and against them, just like you will with biophysical healing. So this is just a choice in terms of choosing different healing methodologies, as well as to do the research and to get some information. So if that's what you need in order to feel like you're not being duped, go for it. Do your research, get your information, and see what's true about this. There's a lot of evidence around using intention to heal, and a lot of people talk about things like the what do they call that, David, when they have those tests and they give people like medicine that's not got anything and no active ingredients in it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, placebos. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so yeah, so there's a lot, like when people talk about the placebo effect, there's often they brush it off. The placebo effect. But what they're negating is the power of the mind. And if it is a placebo effect and people are healing and there's nothing in that medication, that's the power of the mind, and that's the power of of humanity. So I love placebo effect. I think it's phenomenal. If people are getting results and people say to me, well, your stuff is a pile of shit, I'm like, well, if people are healing, all I'm doing is being a presence that is being the space that allows them to have a different reality so that their body can heal. And this is essentially, too, how I perceive the work you do, is that you're being a space for a different reality and allowing energy to go through you to them to allow them to have a different effect in their body. It's like their body is getting new information. Like the receive energy is a bit of information, right? And if we put information into a computer, it gives it coding of some sort, and it'll bring up a program. If we put information into a body, it does the same thing. It actually brings up a new type of coding, and it adjusts the body so that it can have a different response. And so when I look at anything that's a biophysical type of healing, that is essentially what we're dealing with, is information that's recoding the body. So I think it's really cool to have so many different variations of ways to do this. And could you share some of you have over 270 of them now, but what are some of your go-tos? You were talking about receive, but what are some of your other go-tos that you find that people are really both responding to and asking for a lot?
Well, I see that we're almost at the break, and we'll continue after the break, I guess, actually. The one that just came into my mind was what I call constant emotional release. Because people tell me, who are very sensitive to energy tell me, oh, I'm picking up energy from the environment and from other people all the time. or other healers tell me it's hard to do my work because I'm just absorbing other people's vibes, and so on. So these people need the sense of having that released from them. So I have a vibrational hug to facilitate them with that. And that's been very powerful.
Beautiful. So that's another great addition. I think we have, and there's a few too that I've seen in your group, and I'm wondering, lately there's been a couple. What was the one I saw the other day? And it was about speaking up, and I thought that was interesting. For me, I've had like a week where I feel like saying nothing, so it's even interesting for me to do a radio show tonight where it's like I've had no desire to talk this week, and for like about 10 days now. So it's kind of an interesting one. And I looked at that vibrational hug, and I was like, yeah, no desire to talk right now. When I'm ready to, I'll look at that and maybe something will shift. So
well, this is intended for people who yes. Well, this is intended for people who have trouble speaking up and would like to be facilitated. I feel like I'm facilitating people to take charge of their own health and their own healing and their own lives. And this is one of them, because often people are suffering from not being able to speak up, especially in relationship. They're not holding their own in the relationship, as it were, and speaking up will make a big difference to them. And so, people have reported very good results with that. And I myself I test all of these. As they come through, I'm testing them on myself constantly as well. So I find, I am actually able to speak up better than I used to. So it's been good for me too.
That's awesome. So we are targeting for our next break right now, and we'll talk more about vibrational hugs, what some more of them are, because with that list of 270, there are a lot of interesting ones that are available. And if you do join the group on Facebook with David, the Vibrational Hugs group, you'll see a lot of them. If you scroll back, he's on like a day 170 something. So there's been a lot of them, and they don't repeat that I've noticed. So, so get on there and check them out. You're listening to The Pleasure Zone here on Inspired Choices Network, and we'll be right back after this commercial.
Are you secretly a voyeur, wondering what's going on in other people's sex lives? What if now is the time for a totally different sexual evolution? Are you interested in people who are pioneers of different sexual and pleasurable practices? Lean in now with Milica Jelenic, where she will entice you and your body to know your own pleasure zone. On the Pleasure Zone radio show with sensual movement artist Milica Jelenic, you'll receive tools, inspiration, and a foundation to allow yourself to receive more in your sex life, and quite possibly other areas of your life as well. Listen for the Pleasure Zone with Milica every Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 p.m. Central Time, 6 p.m. Mountain Time, and 5 p.m. Pacific Time on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com.
Interested in masturbating for money, copulating for consciousness, and pleasuring on purpose? 21 Days of Sexual Magicism with sensual movement artist Milica Jelenic is an exploration of tools, processes, and actions that you can use to create more for your life, your body, your money inflows, and so much more. Graduated learning for all levels of interest. Learn at your own pace via video classes or join the yearly live class. Take a peek at www.milicajelenic.com.
This is the Pleasure Zone with sensual movement artist Milica Jelenic. To participate in the program today from the U.S., call 815-880-TALK. That's 815-880-8255. From Canada, dial 613-800-8736. Or you can Skype us at InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. Or send your questions or comments via email to info@MilicaJelenic.com. Now, back to the program.
Welcome back, sweet pleasure seekers. You are listening to The Pleasure Zone here on Inspired Choices Network. And tonight we're talking about hugging vibrations with my guest, Dr. David Lasocki. And probably got that one wrong again. But we are.
No, it was
David
great. Thank
has. You. Yeah. Okay. It's good for you. It's good for me. David has experience as a writer, editor, researcher, energy healer, and he is the creator of Vibrational Hugs. What are they? If you haven't been listening to the show until now, please go back and listen from the beginning so you can get a sense of what these vibrational hugs are, where they were inspired from, how they came to be, how they are developing. We've been talking a little bit about all of those things. What I'm curious about, David, is there anything that you would recommend people to do in order to prepare their bodies or their minds in order to receive the fullest extent of what the vibrational hugs can offer?
Well, I would say actually some of the vibrational hugs in this book that I've just published will do that. The book is called David's Little Books of Vibrational Hugs, Book 1, Essentials. And so what is essential? First of all, is to be able to receive. We talked about the receive one. Mm-hmm. There's another one called aware, so that you're aware of what's happening more. There's absorb. You can absorb things better. Acknowledge, of course, acknowledge things better. And finally, integrate. So there's a series at the beginning of the book that I really recommend people, because if you're not able to receive, be aware, absorb, acknowledge, and integrate, you're not going to get the most from anything in life. So it's not just for vibrational hugs, it's actually being able to experience life more fully. And so the first vibrational hugs in this book correspond to the things I just said. The idea of the book is that the vibrational hug in question has been infused into an image. The images were done by a Scottish artist, Caroline Morris, for me, and they're very beautiful pastel drawings, and each one is different and beautiful, but they're not just beautiful pictures. The idea is that they embody this particular vibrational hug, and that you can experience of the image. So I definitely recommend buying the book and looking through that series first, and then you'll develop your ability to absorb vibrational hugs more fully and to live life more fully too.
And for those of you who, that's awesome, definitely get the book. For those of you who are intimidated by books, like I'm one of those people, I'm like, that's great, it's a book. Oh my God, when do I have time to read that? It's actually a really short read, and it's not a book you have to read all the way through. You could just kind of hold the book and ask, which vibrational hug would work for me today, and open it up and see what shows up. Or start from the beginning and get all those vibrational hugs in that will prepare your body to receive the fullest extent of those, and then start opening the book up randomly to see what your body would like, and then spend a minute or two looking at the image. Is there any, I was just thinking about this as we were at the last break. I was wondering if at some point, David, if you would actually create a guided kind of meditation for people so that when they're looking at the image, they might have a better sense of like how to be present with it and receive from it. It was just a thought during break. So, there you go.
Thank you very much. Yeah, people are suggesting very helpful things like that, actually. And so I put it on my to-do list here for the vibrational hug. It's a great idea. Actually, what somebody suggested to me yesterday is similar to what you suggested, to construct a kind of vibrational hug journey. Like, so you could experience one every day for a month, for example, and you could look at it, look at the image, experience the energy, reflect on it, and so on, and then move on to another one the next day. And then I thought of a variation of that. Those children's books, I think they're called Create Your Own Adventure or something like that, where you have a number of
choose your own
alternatives
adventure
at the end of each chapter or section. Yes, and you could choose, I could do A, B, and C vibrational hug, and then you could create your own version of the journey. And I think that would be more effective, because you're going to be changed by, one day of experiencing some vibration, you're going to be changed so much, and then you can choose. Instead of having one that I pre-chose for you, you can choose your own. So anyway, those are a couple of ideas in the offing now.
Choose Your Own Adventure books were by far my favorite books growing up. That's fun.
I wanted to say about the book too that Caroline, the artist, reported another way of using the book, and that is that she's actually been sticking it under her pillow at night, and so she's been receiving the vibrations from the hug through her pillow, and she's reported that enormous shifts in her energy when she wakes up, and having more energy and better days as a result. So I just suggest that too. It doesn't work with the PDF version.
Beautiful.
Unless you want to. I'd probably better not to stick your computer under your pillow. But
no.
the book,
I highly
works
recommend
well for that. Yes.
Awesome. That's beautiful. So get creative.
Yeah.
There's other ways that I'm sure people will come up with that'll assist them with receiving too. Like one of the other thoughts I had too was having them be. So there's a type of work out there that's called source field energy work. And basically it's like images, and you can stick them underwater, and then it infuses the water with the energy, and then you drink it. And I thought about that with vibrational hugs too, that you could put your water on the book, the image on the book, like put a plastic kind of covering so you don't wreck the book, put your glass on it, and then have the vibrational hugs absorb in your water and drink it, kind of like a medicine. Could be fun.
Oh, wow.
I think there's a lot of different fun practices you can do with it.
I think this is a perfect illustration that these vibrational hugs are being co-created. So they began with you and me working together, and something came out of that. But everybody who's experiencing these and who's giving me feedback is strengthening the energy. I can feel the energy getting stronger all the time. People are contributing suggestions of ones to create that I hadn't thought of before, or modifications. And then people are also, of course, they're giving testimonials and so on, but in groups, especially when we get together as a group, people are sharing them as a group. In the group, the energy gets much stronger all the time. And I feel that all of these, every time I work with people individually or collectively, every time somebody looks at an image or whatever, reads the book, then the energy of vibrational hugs as a whole is getting stronger, and the energy of individual ones is getting stronger too. So it's not me who's doing this all by myself. I'm definitely sharing this with the group, an expanding group of people, and we're co-creating these transmissions together.
That's beautiful. I think everything really is co-creation, and a lot of times people don't give credit to the fact that there's co-creation going on, and they try and own it, and then it kind of diminishes the energy. So if you are creating something on the planet right now, what if you could see the way that it is a co-creation? And as David was saying, as he's acknowledging the co-creation and this is growing, we tend to not do that. We tend to be selfish and go, I did this, it's mine. And really, as the more we're doing that, the more things kind of dry up and die. If you have 100 people feeding a plant different sources and minerals that it requires, that plant is going to have a pretty amazing life. And if everybody's aware of what that plant requires in order for it to grow, it's not going to get overwatered, it's not going to get over mineraled. Everybody's going to contribute to what it needs to grow. And that's true for our creations in general. So even like creation of this, but also for those of you who are listening, it's like the creation of your businesses as well, your lives, your health, all of it. You can have many people contributing to you. Just like, if you have a doctor contributing to you, you could also have David contributing to you, or me, or whatever. You could have so many different sources of contribution to your body that will just enhance it. So there isn't like a sense of just one person is doing it or whatever. So I encourage you to add not only to your life, but also to allow others to contribute to your creations as well, to see how they grow. That can be a lot of fun. We're about 1 minute to break, David, and I was wondering if before, as we're on the break, if you could send a vibrational hug out to the group that's, I don't know, maybe a little naughty, maybe a little sexy for our group, maybe just like, orgasmic of some sort, and see what people feel. Well, we'll come back to break and people are like rising in orgasmic energy. How fun is that? If that sounds fun to you. You don't have to tell us what it is. You can just send it away and let us all feel it. And if you don't feel anything, don't judge yourself. Just listen and listen again. And maybe you need to get the book so that you can get all the preparatory other transmissions that your body can start to have more sensitivity and awareness to this. So we are going to be heading to the next commercial. David's going to surprise us with something awesome, and just stay tuned. So you're listening to The Pleasure Zone here on Inspired Choices Network, and we'll be right back after this commercial.
Are you secretly a voyeur, wondering what's going on in other people's sex lives? What if now is the time for a totally different sexual evolution? Are you interested in people who are pioneers of different sexual and pleasurable practices? Lean in now with Milica Jelenic, where she will entice you and your body to know your own pleasure zone. On the Pleasure Zone radio show with sensual movement artist Milica Jelenic, you'll receive tools, inspiration, and a foundation to allow yourself to receive more in your sex life, and quite possibly other areas of your life as well. Listen for The Pleasure Zone with Milica every Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 p.m. Central Time, 6 p.m. Mountain Time, and 5 p.m. Pacific Time on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com.
Interested in masturbating for money, copulating for consciousness, and pleasuring on purpose? 21 Days of Sexual Magicism with sensual movement artist Milica Jelenic is an exploration of tools, processes, and actions that you can use to create more for your life, your body, your money inflows, and so much more. Graduated learning for all levels of interest. Learn at your own pace via video classes or join the yearly live class. Take a peek at www.milicajelenic.com.
This is The Pleasure Zone with sensual movement artist Milica Jelenic. To participate in the program today from the U.S., call 815-880-TALK. That's 815-880-8255. From Canada, dial 613-800-8736. Or you can Skype us at InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. Or send your questions or comments via email to info@milicajelenic.com. Now, back to the program.
Welcome back to The Pleasure Zone, sweet pleasure seekers. Tonight we've been talking about vibrational hugs / hugging vibrations, been receiving them, having them. I don't know what David sent during that break, but I almost got knocked out, so that's awesome. For those of you, I hope that didn't happen if you're driving. That was cool. I should have given a warning. Pull to the side of the road. I didn't know it was coming, so whatever. Right now, I have a warm crotch, and I feel kind of relaxed, and it's all good. So I don't know what that was, but thank you. And for those of you who are listening, if you had like projecting thoughts as well, and you're like, I don't know what he's sending, but I'm sending too. Whatever. I'm feeling it from wherever, and I'm loving it, and I'm grateful. So that kind of makes me, and I don't even want to know, David. I don't even want to know what it was because I want to just leave the surprise in the air. But what I am curious about is whether...
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. No, I just want to say what I sent you was one of the ones in the book. And so if you like this version of it too, you can have more by buying the book.
Okay. Beautiful.
And it does relate to sensuality in the body, for sure. Yes, go ahead.
Lovely. So my curiosity is, so this is David's little book of Vibrational Hugs, Volume 1. So we know there's more volumes coming because you have about 20 or so in this one, I think, or I don't remember exactly how many, but you have a grouping in this one, and then you've got another whole bunch that are constantly being developed. So I'm sure there's going to be many more volumes coming. What I'm curious about is, what's your awareness of the future of vibrational hugs? Will there be things like classes, in person, online? Like, what is your do you have a vision for this, or you have an awareness of where vibrational hugs are going in the future?
I do actually, yeah. So They're expansions of what I have now. So people can work with me individually, by the way, in person, when we're not socially distancing, or on video call. There are groups that are available on video call. But what I imagine for the future is having workshops or something like that, a half a day or a whole day, could be even more, where a large group of people explore these things together. So I imagine that we'll probably start on video call, but eventually there will be an opportunity to do them in person, I hope. So I see myself in a few years traveling the world, giving workshops, spreading vibrational hugs everywhere. That's the vision.
Ah, beautiful. I love that vision because these are so accessible. It's not like it's something that you have to memorize. It's not like going to massage school and memorizing 2 years worth of anatomy. This is like something that innately, once you can be pretty clear with yourself, and keep in mind for those of you who are curious about learning this stuff, David also has done healing for a long time, years, decades. So he has some background, which is helpful. And by all means, part of what David can facilitate so he's had 25 years of, we're almost the same. So he's had 25 years of experience working with people, doing healing work. And the thing with having experience and working with people and energies for a number of years is you start to develop a sensitivity and your capacities develop as it is. So sometimes I've had people come to my classes and they're like, how come you can do that? And I'm like, sweetie, I've been doing this for 22 years and you think that you're going to jump in and you're not going to do the way I do it, for one, because you're you. And I have maybe some muscle development that you need to develop, right? I don't go running marathons because I didn't train for that. And if I went and I lined up with a bunch of marathon runners, I would not be able to compete. And energetically, there's muscles that you can develop. And so practicing too, having daily practices, maybe that's something that will be part of these courses in the future too. I'd love to see that people could be able to develop those muscles of learning how to be able to transmit energies and to be able to do the transmissions that you're doing. Again, you have experience, so it definitely contributes to being able to do this type of work. And I have about 1 more minute to give you, David. If there's anything significant that you would like to share with everybody before we wrap up the show, I would love for you to share that.
Yeah, my sense of what I'm doing is that I'm facilitating people to facilitate themselves. I believe that we're all powerful as human beings. We're infinitely powerful, so much more powerful than we know. And so we can do a lot of things for themselves, but it helps to work with people who can facilitate you or contribute to you, as you were saying before. And so I feel that's my role, is I'm contributing so that people can realize how powerful they are and they can get whatever they require and desire in their lives once they understand how powerful they are. So Vibrational Hugs is a contribution towards that, and it's really, to my mind, a contribution to changing the world.
I love that. And it's so beautiful and so simple. And the fact that you can get it in either through personal sessions with David or through his book, there are so many different means to be able to receive this energy. You can get onto that Facebook group with him. You can also get into his monthly calls. And monthly calls are so much fun, and they kind of keep you on track. And it's a great way to connect with the community and get a sense of where's everybody at and what are they going through and what are you going through. And for me, I love group calls because people tend to have a sense of community with the people on the calls, and they don't feel alone. And right now, during this kind of time of social distancing, group calls are amazing to be able to get you out of feeling alone. So if you are feeling alone, check out David's group, join it, get on there, and invite yourself to something different, a little bit more fun, a little bit more joy in your life. I can't remember what my topic is for next week because I didn't send it into the station yet, but I know I have something good, and I think it has to do with flirting. We'll find out for sure. And definitely go onto David's site and go into the store through davidlasocki.com.
Thank you for listening to The Pleasure Zone with sensual movement artist Milica Jelenic. The Pleasure Zone returns next Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central, 6 p.m. Mountain, and 5 p.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. We hope you'll join us. Until then, have the best week of your life by choosing to be turned on and tuned in to your body.